And so this evening session is all about our deeper dive into the inside job of media strategy. And for those of you who attended yesterday's open session, you'll relate to the fact that we looked over this all-determining factor of success in media strategy, because so often in the media strategy mafia, what we're looking at is one tactic after another. We went over the big picture of media strategy at first, and then we dived into things like media features and podcast guesting and things like getting your media kit together so that you can really share your visionary message with the world in the way that the world can best receive it, and so that you're always ready, that when opportunities come in, you have exactly what it takes to submit something just like that. And also, whenever you do appear in the media, that you have the little trail of cookie crumbs that people can follow to come and find you, follow you, and get into your ecosystem, especially when that involves you're getting their contact details, you're getting their information, you're getting the way that you can actually go and reach them again in the future. And all of those things are brilliant tactics. And when you have them in place, you have a really, really good chance of making the most whenever there is an opportunity to appear in the media and whenever you do appear in the media, especially online, because online people can click through like that and find your profiles and find the place where they can go on to journey with you, whether it is beginning by following you, maybe even stalking you for a little while, then finding out more, and then beginning to make use of your offerings. And one of the strategies that we've looked at with that is this idea of the value waterfall. And this is a wonderful concept that I learned from Mike Handcock, who is the CEO of the Circle of Excellence Group. In the Circle of Excellence Group, he and his partner, now his wife, Lundy Jack, offer something that is really, really exceptional for entrepreneurs. They have a very high ticket membership program where people join, and everybody here is South African tonight. They pay what was a few years ago a membership fee of 120,000 Rand per year. So let's say 10,000 Rand per month. I suppose at the current value, that's something like, where are we, $500? Is that right? Something like that. So it's a fair monthly membership fee that gives them access to a range of private coaching products, an online program, and then the individual access to this partnership of Mike and Lundy, who are business experts and strategists in their own right each. And when they get together, they're actually a real dynamo. But their strategy goes up from having many people who come to their free events, then people who buy their book, which is kind of a low ticket product, and then moving into higher price products. And then boom, this high price membership. But that's not their big high ticket offering. Their big high ticket offering is worth 500,000 Rand, so a substantial amount of money for a week with them in an exotic location of your choice. So think of earning 500,000 Rand in a week for working with a client in a stunning location where you can stay on a week before or a week after, or maybe even longer, for the privilege of working with a very, very special client. And one client who took up this offer with them recently was Liv Conlon, who went to join them in South America, and they had an amazing week of business planning. She paid the equivalent of 500,000 Rands for the privilege. And the value, the ROI she gets on this, she swears is worth much, 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 much more than that. So do you see there what the system is of the value waterfall? When people first encounter you, they get something for free. They don't have to make any commitment to experience this. They then move through to a very, very affordable product that they can access and that can help them to get to know you better, build this trust with you. And then there's the option of a mid-ticket or a high-ticket product. And then there is this ultimate, extreme, platinum level, very exclusive, super high level ticket product that people can use. And that idea of this value waterfall is that the more people spend time with you, the further they can go. So that's an incredible media strategy. It's an incredible marketing strategy. But the fact is, no matter how amazing your strategy, it can only work when the goose that lays the golden eggs is laying. And that goose baby is you. The scary, scary thing is that no matter how qualified we are, how experienced we are, and even how inspired we are, there are those moments that we fall off the wagon and we just go, how can I even contemplate calling myself an expert in this? How can I dare to bill this much money for this thing that I'm offering? How can I have the goal to step on a stage or be a guest on a podcast or submit my media application like many of you have been doing? How can I do that? I don't know if I can make this. And then there are the moments where we try and we try and we try and we get a no and a no and a no and a no, or even worse than a no, we just get nothing. We don't see any response on what we're doing. And what begins is this nagging self-doubt. And it becomes very difficult to keep going. And when that happens, there are a bunch of things we can do. We can give up quietly. We can give up loudly. We can go kind of lukewarm and put it on the back burner. And from the back burner, it goes a little bit further back and a little bit further back until eventually it's actually not happening anymore. Or we can confront the abyss, where there is the temptation to say, I'm packing it in, I'm throwing in the towel, and maybe just go a little bit deeper and see, what is it that's going to keep this goose laying the golden eggs? How do we get over the imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, this temptation to give up, and especially the very tempting option of just not being all that consistent. And that is why this session, this work on this inside job of media strategy is so all important. As I was preparing for yesterday's session, I had this thought that, my goodness, this is almost like preparing a sermon, because I know that there were a number of the people that I'd invited to the event, and some of them who came, who have been thinking about getting started for years, and they still haven't done it because they just don't have the confidence yet. And they see one person after another who's been doing exactly what they do, just not quite as well, and succeeding, finding a following, finding clients, finding success, finding a sustainable income, and in some cases, even what becomes a passive income over time. So we know it can be done. But how do we persist and how do we keep going? So for those of you who were at yesterday's session, we're going to take a look at a few of these points, these 7 steps that we identified, but also at the same time, look at what really is possible? What can we do about all of this that's going to keep us going? And the first possibility I'd love to invite you to think about, and this was one of the points we looked at in yesterday's session, and that is the oak tree. Now, the oak tree is fascinating because if you think about stepping outside on a hot day when the sun is beating down and you just feel like you are going to melt, an oak tree gives you shelter and shade. And that oak tree at the same time is providing oxygen for the environment around it. There are so many things this tree gives, but how does it give it? Well, the tree persisted past the phase of being an acorn. And I'd like to invite you right now to think about what that means for you, because just as an acorn holds the oak inside of it, you hold a great, great legacy inside of you. There's a pretty scary exercise about this, that if you've ever come across the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, this is the very first big scary exercise in that book. And it is, imagine that you find yourself at a funeral and you notice how much veneration everybody at this funeral has for the person who has passed away. And the things you hear them say just inspire you so much. And you think, my goodness, what a legacy this person has left. They are in this casket about to people are parting with them. And yet, it's almost like they've attained immortality because of the incredible work they've done. And you listen on and you just keep hearing these amazing things people say. And then you hear the name of the person whose memorial service this is. And you hear that name is your name. And you realize what a legacy you have left. Now, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the author, Stephen R. Covey, invites the reader to say, what is it that you would like people to be saying after you're gone? And that thought is very much this idea of the oak that carries on to protect people very, very, very long after they have gone. And together with this great author who today has also passed on and left this book as a legacy, I would like to invite you to think for a moment. Where is it that you would like to leave that kind of legacy? Who are the people who can benefit from the great, great message that you have to offer, the great work that you would like to be doing in the world? And if you are perhaps tempted to think that, well, you know, the work that you do is very practical, it's something business related, it's something that helps people to cope in their life from day to day, think about this. What are the people that you are helping going to gain in their bigger life from the work that you do? If you are helping people, if you are coaching people to, for example, be more emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, what is the impact this has in their lives and in the lives of the people in their lives? And what is this ripple effect that comes about because of the work that you do? If you are empowering people financially, what are the effects of their being financially free? If you are empowering people with the skills to have a more sustainable business practice, what is the ripple effect? How many people are ultimately affected by that? if you're equipping people with the business intelligence skills to go and make the most of their data, what happens as this effect spreads further and further? Your clients have a more successful business. Because they have a more successful business, they can employ more people, they can make a bigger difference for their clients, they can be more impactful. Do you see how far the effects can reach? And yes, it's very, very scary to be this little acorn that is suddenly confronted with the opportunity of sprouting and then growing, and this complete disruption and transformation. Because you know what? Being a seedling, being a sapling, being a tree, it's a whole lot different than just being a safe, snug little acorn in your jacket. Let's not make any secret or beat about the bush about the fact that growing is frightening stuff. As we grow professionally and as we grow personally, there are going to be very, very big challenges. And being recognized as more of an expert, being perhaps criticized for the opinions that you have and for the work that you do, being questioned is not easy, but there is a purpose behind it. And that purpose is your legacy, your impact on the world. You're ultimately leaving behind a great oak that protects people, that provides a whole ecosystem for all the little creatures that live there, and that provides oxygen for the rest of the world to flourish. So that is our first guiding principle. You have a difference to make. You can do something that nobody else can do quite the way that you do. And to do this, you don't need to be tabloid level famous, that there are big scandals about you in the Sunday papers. You don't have to be super visible, and you don't need 1 million clients. You simply need the conviction to go and serve the people that are looking for you, the people that need you. And I can assure you that there is someone out there who is hoping for the service that you can offer in only the way that you can. And that's what makes you special, because there are bigger experts out there with stronger marketing plans and bigger teams and bigger budgets. But you know what? Everybody needs a very, very individual, unique approach. And there are more than enough clients who are looking for you and the way that you do what you do. So from here, we go on to another tremendous superpower, and that is the power of decision. This is something that we looked at yesterday, and I shared with you this origin. The word decide is from the Latin word decidere, which means cut off. Cut off any other possibility, cut off any escape route, cut off the maybe. Because when you decide that, well, this is the contribution that you are called to make, this is the legacy that you want to leave, a couple of things become non-negotiable. Giving up is one of them. Going lukewarm 50-50 in second gear is one of them. Being inconsistent is one of them. When you decide, things become very, very clear. And that's why, if you've been thinking about making that full commitment, if you've been thinking about seeing what is it that can make it possible for you to operate fully at the level where you want to, in terms of not only your media strategy, but your broader business strategy, and how this fits into your life and your world, and the world that you ultimately want to see, making that decision is remarkably powerful. And there's something magical about it, because what I've seen is that there were things that were completely impossible, absolutely impossible, as far as operating in my business and even other things inside the work that I do and the life that I live. And it was just a closed door. No, it was not a closed door. It was a wall. There was nothing there. But it's amazing how, when we decide, little cracks start to appear in that wall. And time and again, I've seen when I've made a decision, even often without doing anything else, the crack appears in the wall. And sometimes it shows that there's actually a door I had not seen. Things become possible. So make the decision. And if you've been sitting on the fence, I invite you to ask yourself, where is it that I can cut off the escape routes? It's amazing how things become clear from there. And then there's another thing to keep in mind, and that is this idea that your kryptonite is your superpower. In yesterday's session, I shared the concept that if you go through a struggle, if you go through something that really puts you through your paces, and especially if the area in which you work is one where you feel maybe you have not yet attained perfection, you're still learning. How can you really make this work for you? And that includes if there is anything at all that holds you back. And it so happens that everybody in this meeting this evening in the live session is a female. And I want to share with you that this is an asset, because right now people are looking for so much more diversity. They are looking for so much more representativeness. They're looking for relatability. And the fact that you belong to a subset of the broader humanity that has a very special set of needs makes you an ideal poster child for that. And women are, well, we can't even really call ourselves a minority, since we're probably almost around a half, even if we account for all the other options that are available. We have an edge just because we belong to a special group. If there's any other group that you belong to, whether it is because of your convictions, because of your lifestyle choices, because of your demographics, take advantage of that and remember, somebody needs it. Somebody needs to know what you've been through. If you're struggling with something, if it's a physical a disease or a disability or a family situation or a mental issue or a neurodivergency issue, people who have come out with the news that, oh my goodness, at the age of 45, I've been diagnosed with ADHD and it suddenly solves all my problems. It's incredible how having that angle gives you more to say, gives you more to offer business owners. Even if your situation is something as relatively common as motherhood, or that it is something that you've simply gone through as a part of your life and a stage in how things are panning out, perhaps shifting careers, changing jobs, starting your own business. Whatever it is that you've been through that has made you struggle, there's a gift inside. Your kryptonite is your superpower. And there's this idea of the hero's journey. And if you haven't come across this terminology before, in a nutshell, the hero's journey is something that was identified by the mythologist Joseph Campbell. And he looked at all the different great stories and he said, oh my goodness, look, there's the same pattern that happens through all of them. We have somebody who starts out, this is our hero, but they're facing a major challenge. And then certain things happen. They go on some kind of a journey, whether it is a physical journey to another place or an inner journey through some kind of a struggle. They have things that help them. They eventually come to a total crisis point. And then they begin to find the solution. And eventually they come back to the same point, but in a better way than before, having lived through this struggle and become a richer person. And now they have more to contribute. And if you have ever seen any of the Star Wars movies, this concept of the hero's journey was used by George Lucas to create the stories behind the world of Star Wars. And it's similarly the very, very same story that lies at the base of all the stories that captivate us. And for some reason, the story structure, whether it happens in classical mythology, or it happens in a modern movie, or it happens in the story that you tell about your journey, help your client understand what you do. This hero has a deep, deep appeal for people. And when you share it, you have something to give people that they can learn from and they can grow from. Now, if you have a piece of paper in front of you, or even if you're just thinking through this, I'd love to challenge this little question. What is you? What are the things that count against you? The things that feel like a strike against you, that gives you an unfair disadvantage, the things that have held you back, struggled through. What are they? What is your kryptonite? All the reasons some people might say no to you. Because the interesting thing is, the fact that some people say no also means that there's a very select subset of people who will say yes. And when it comes to finding your ideal clients, the people who are going to be polarized by this, the people who are not going to be the ones who turn away, but the ones who go, oh my goodness, that's me. That's me. That's exactly what I went through. Those are the people that you can best serve, because you have walked through the same fire that they need to walk through now. So that is the challenge. Find your kryptonite, and you find the key to your superpower. And then one that is so important is very simply to follow delight. Follow delight, follow the things that light you up. And for this, here's a little invitation. If you feel comfortable to do so, please don't do this if you're driving. Close your eyes and think back about a time in your childhood. Think about the things that you could do for hours and hours on end, that were so much fun that you did not feel the day passing away, that you did not feel hunger, you didn't feel tiredness, you just wanted to carry on. Was it playing outside? Was it building things? Was it drawing, making something creative? Was it playing radio or office? What was it that you could do for hours and hours on end, and it just felt like time disappeared because you were having so much fun? If you think back to times like that, how you felt replenished from inside, how you felt like you were just in your element. Like you were excelling without even trying, just because it was so enjoyable. Like you were completely brilliant. There is a key for how to follow delight. Here's why it's especially important for your media strategy. When it comes to your media strategy, there are so many approaches to take. You can look at writing articles. You can look at speaking on stages. You can look at, oh, and you're welcome to open your eyes if they're still closed, by the way. You can look at appearing on podcasts as a guest. You might want to look at your own podcast, or having a YouTube channel, or creating social media posts, or very simply being available to people for open sessions where they can pick your brains. Any and all of these are very powerful media strategies, but here's the little secret. It can be a lot of fun, but it will take a lot of your time. I'm not using the words hard work here, because if you can find the things that you really enjoy, it's going to be a breeze. It's going to be a pleasure. I'm sure you've found parts of the work that you do. Just, it's so much delight you can't believe that you get paid for it, right? And you want your media strategy to work around the same principles. If you find that you love being interviewed on podcasts, focus on that. If you find that you just have so much that you want to share with people, and every time that you have a new discovery, you wonder, how can you get the message out to a lot of people? And then you start playing with video and you see that that's really fun. Well, maybe having a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel, or sharing your videos in your different social media platforms, maybe that is something that you would really like to do. But is it enough fun for you that it can be really sustainable? So since these things that you are going to do for your media strategy are going to take time, and they are going to take energy, and they are going to take a learning curve in many cases, go and tap that memory. Go and tap that feeling of when you were a child, what really lit you up? And go and see, how does that connect to the things that you could do now that are really, really fun for you? And the reason for this, as I said in yesterday's live session, in the open session, when you're enjoying the way that you approach your media strategy, it's not just that it's easier. It's not just that you're better at this. It's not just that it's so much fun, you do it for free and you can do it all day long and you don't get tired. It's also that people have a deep sense of when you're being authentic and when you're enjoying yourself. And if you have that shining through in the work that you're putting out, they're going to be drawn to you like a magnet. People cannot resist that. And especially in a troubled time in the world like the one we are in now. We really are confronted with a time where there are so many real problems out there in the world. We're facing another recession. We are in one of the most times of the most rapid change in human history as yet. And it looks like there's just more to come. Life is stressful. People hunger, people crave for a little bit of fun, a little bit of connection, a little bit of enjoyment and authenticity. And whatever medium you can put that across in is where they're going to find you best. The days of trying to be on every social media platform are over. But really excelling in the avenue that you use is going to make a very, very big difference. And the more you enjoy it, I assure you, the more the right kind of people are going to be drawn to what you do, the more they're going to be following you, doing business with you, and very importantly, recommending you. So really find what is there. Go follow, delight. The next step or the next secret is one that we take from the world of business, your mission. And if you have thought about this before in a business context, have you thought about this before in a personal context and in the way that your personal context translates to your professional work? So one of the best things you can do for your media strategy is have that first introduction ready. And in these media strategy mafia sessions, we often start with an elevator pitch, for lack of a better word, a way of introducing yourself in a way that people are going to want to find out more. People are going to have a strong sense of what you do, and whether they are your clients or they know your clients and they can promote you, this really, really makes a difference. So for your mission, we can just distill what they do in the world of business and just say, your mission is, who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it? And a fun part of this little homework assignment, because it might be something that you want to think about over time a little bit, is if you think about what you do, there's a strong element of this of what does it mean for people, right? Think about that oak tree again. What is your legacy? What is the value that you add? But one of the fun things to dive into here is, how do you do it? What is the thing that makes you unique? Because chances are who you are is maybe not something that's going to strike people at the first impression, unless you're extremely famous already. And what you do is probably something a bunch of other people do. But when it comes to how you do it, that is something that is really, really special and something that is very unique to you. There are some business people out there at the moment who are extremely proud and extremely loud, ironically, about the fact that they're introverts and that they help other introverts. This is an interesting how of the work that you bring. If the thing that you bring that is so special is the way that you relate to people, the way that you connect with people, think about that and how you can work that into your mission. How can you share that in the time that you introduce yourself to people? And sometimes it won't be the words, it will be the way that you present this, right? So you might not say how you do things, you might demonstrate how you do things, whether it's with a sense of humor or with a sense of very strong connection or empathy. And that how really makes you exceptional. And it's a media strategy superpower that you can really tap anytime. And once again, it helps with that inside job. It helps to remind you what your special value is. And again, if you have any doubts whatsoever about why what you do is so important and why it has so much value, think about the next secret, and that is your vision. So where businesses think about, well, what is our big vision for the business? What is your big vision for the world you live in? And how do you contribute to that vision? And this is a bit scary because I think most of us are going to look at this and say, well, there's a very, very big gap between the vision I have for the world and the way it is right now. But that's also the challenge, that's the invitation, that is the call to step up and do the work that you do. And if you suffer from any kind of imposter syndrome, this is the time to just, for all of us, to swallow our pride and say, well, what if the difference, the tipping point between having that world that I dream of and the one we're in, which I think we can all agree has some beautiful qualities, but man, there's potential for improvement, right? What if the difference begins with the work you do and the ripples this has for your clients and your following and your advocates and the people who work with your clients, and that ever extending ripple? What is the part that you play there? This is the biggest call to get over our imposter syndrome and our fear and our insecurity, because without us, that is not going to happen. And in the business game, it's always the mission, the vision, and the values. And your values are another one, just like that decision, right? When you decide what's important to you, you know what the steps are to take. Looking at your values, what is important to you? And if you can find 3 values that are the core heart values, you'll often, it can take a bit of a process to work through these, but ask yourself, what is really important to you? And then how is this expressed in the work that you do? And then in your media strategy also, and in the message that you put out, how are your values encapsulated in that? It also helps with one of the big things that can undermine us as entrepreneurs, and that is, what am I going to do today, right? Where's the work going to come from? Well, look at the values and let that be your guide. Also, let your day, let your time, let your budget, let your energy be a reflection of these values. When we do that, it becomes really easy to see what needs to be done now and what really matters. And finally, walking our talk is the ultimate test, the ultimate media strategy that there is, because the funny thing is, we don't know what people say about us behind our backs. We can formulate our message, we can put our beautiful social media posts out, build our profiles, have fantastic materials that we can share with people. But what are people actually saying? Well, they probably say what they see. So walking our talk is that great challenge. And the thought to hold on to here that I mentioned in yesterday's session is Mahatma Gandhi's great quote: "My life is my message." And when we can say that every day, we're in a powerful, powerful position to really share our message with the world. And the inside job of our media strategy then begins with everything that we do, not just saying what we do, but really letting our thoughts and our actions and our legacy, the ripple effect, reflect exactly what it is that we say we do. And that brings us to the end of our session. I'm going to stop the recording. I see our time is technically up, so I'd love to thank everybody who's joined us. And if you're watching the video, in the description, you'll also find the link to the summary of our session. I'm putting that in the chat as well for those of you who are with us today. And that is it for this evening. The media strategy is all the things that you can do, but the inside job is the part that keeps you going and makes it sustainable. Thank you all so very, very much. And you're welcome to stay on if you have any questions. For those watching the recording, we are going to stop here and take a look at the description for the other resources.